Let's start by painting a picture. Imagine your favorite coffee shop. There are the familiar sights and smells of freshly brewed coffee and the background chatter of people at tables and the clicking sounds of laptops. And when you get to the counter, you have a charismatic barista named Ben who remembers your usual order and always serves it with a slightly mysterious smile. Could he be a psychopath? Then you get your coffee, sit at the end of a long table with other people, and start working on your laptop. A guy at the other end looks at you and gives you a wink. Could he be a psychopath? Or let's say your boss at work is always in control, persuasive, and has an aura that draws people in. They feel compelled to do what she wants and seek her approval. Sometimes she gets a little cold in her feedback and directions, but she keeps your work team effective and always meets its goals. Could she be a psychopath? In fact, you probably encounter real-life psychopaths all the time, but you don't realize it. One of your friends might even be one. Is that something you should worry about? And how would you know if they actually were a psychopath? Well, hello, my name is Eric Vanman, and I'm an associate professor of psychology at the University of Queensland in Australia. And during different times in my career, I've conducted studies on people with psychopathic traits due to my fascination with their apparent lack of emotions. In this video, I'd like to share some insights on identifying psychopaths, clarifying common misconceptions about psychopathy, and offering guidance on what to do if you suspect someone in your life may have a psychopathic personality. But before we jump to conclusions, let's clarify what psychopathy is and isn't. You see, psychopathy isn't like what you see in Hollywood thrillers. It doesn't always equate to bloodthirsty serial killers or evil masterminds. In reality, only about 1% of the population can be classified as psychopaths, and they're not necessarily dangerous. But they do share certain characteristics. According to Dr. Robert Hare, the eminent psychologist who developed the Hare psychopathy checklist, the gold standard in assessing criminal psychopathy, these are some of the key traits that define a psychopath: superficial charm, manipulative behavior, a grandiose sense of self, lack of remorse or empathy, impulsivity, and irresponsibility. It's important to know that Hare developed his measure largely with convicted criminals whom psychiatrists had diagnosed as psychopathic or sociopathic. That's another term for this trait. When it comes to defining psychopathy, however, the work of the late great Scott Lilienfeld and his colleagues is also worth looking into. As a friend of mine for a long time, Scott and I used to have in-depth conversations about psychopathy. A notable difference from Hare's approach was Scott's belief that Hare placed too much emphasis on violence and crime as necessary traits. As an alternative, Scott created the Psychopathy Personality Inventory, a questionnaire with 154 items that he developed with normal undergraduate students. Notably, the items in this questionnaire don't reference crime or violence. Here's a sample of some of the items that a person being tested would rate on how true or false the item was for them. The scale has several components or subscales that can be derived from it, as shown in this table. The two main components are fearless dominance and self-centered impulsivity. A higher score in fearless dominance indicates emotional stability, social efficacy, but reduced empathy. On the other hand, a higher score in self-centered impulsivity indicates maladaptive tendencies such as aggression, substance abuse, negative feelings, and even suicidal thoughts. An interesting study conducted in 2011 used this measure with experts who rated the personalities of 42 US presidents. The top scorers for fearless dominance were Theodore Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, while the top scorers for self-centered impulsivity were Bill Clinton, Lyndon Johnson, and Andrew Johnson. Interestingly, fearless dominance was associated with superior presidential performance and leadership, while self-centered impulsivity was linked to unsuccessful performance and an abuse of power. This goes to show that even presidents can exhibit psychopathic traits. In fact, research suggests that psychopaths might even be more common in corporate environments, where their unique traits like charm and risk-taking can help them climb the corporate ladder. In fact, it's estimated that 1 out of 10 managers is a psychopath. But should we be worried? Psychopaths can be manipulative and might use people to their advantage. They can also struggle with forming genuine emotional connections. So while they might not physically harm you, emotional distress can be a real concern. So that leads me to summarize 6 misconceptions or myths of psychopathy, some of which I've already alluded to. The first would be that psychopaths are always violent. Not all psychopaths are violent. Psychopathy is a risk factor for violent behavior, but many psychopaths do not engage in physical aggression. 2 would be psychopathy is synonymous with psychosis. The media often use the terms psychotic or psychopathic interchangeably when referring to people with delusions or hallucinations, especially those who've committed violent acts. Examples include Charles Manson, David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam killer, and John Hinckley Jr., who attempted to assassinate US President Ronald Reagan. However, whereas some cases may involve both psychotic symptoms and psychopathic traits, individuals with psychopathy alone differ significantly from those with psychosis only. Psychopathic individuals tend to be rational, free from delusions, and well aware of their surroundings. The third misconception is that psychopathy is the same thing as antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. Scott Lilienfeld emphasized the distinction between psychopathy and ASPD. While the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders primarily focuses on behavioral aspects, such as law-breaking, often seen in ASPD, psychopathy encompasses both behavioral aspects and personality traits like a lack of empathy, manipulativeness, and superficial charm. The fourth misconception is that psychopaths have no emotion. Psychopaths do not have a complete absence of emotions, as often depicted in popular culture. They often exhibit a reduced capacity for specific emotions like fear and anxiety. The fifth misconception is that psychopathic individuals are born, not made. From our understanding of similar personality conditions, it's probable that psychopathy has various causes and that environmental factors and individual traits will contribute to its development. And finally, the sixth misconception is that psychopaths are not treatable. Psychopathy is a challenging condition, but that doesn't mean it's untreatable. Although there's no cure-all, interventions can help manage psychopathic traits, especially if these interventions occur earlier in life. Yes, psychopathic people can sometimes use their traits to navigate corporate environments, charm their way into personal relationships, or manipulate situations to their advantage. But it's not all doom and gloom. With awareness and understanding, we can manage these relationships effectively. So what should you do if you think you might know a psychopath? Well, here are some evidence-based suggestions. First, don't panic. The term psychopath carries a lot of stigma due to its portrayal in media, but it's a clinical term, not a moral judgment. Second, it's not your job to diagnose them. It's tempting to label someone who has hurt us or exhibits certain traits as a psychopath, but true psychopathy is a clinical diagnosis made by professionals. Third, if their actions are causing harm or you feel uncomfortable, it's crucial to set boundaries and protect yourself. You have the right to emotional safety and well-being. And fourth, if you're genuinely concerned about someone's behavior, reach out to mental health professionals. They can provide the appropriate guidance and support. And lastly, and most importantly, remember this. Understanding psychopathy isn't about instilling fear or alienation. It's about fostering empathy and understanding. It's about accepting that we all have different ways of processing emotions and experiences. People diagnosed with psychopathy aren't monsters or villains. They're people with specific traits and behaviors. The more we understand them, the better equipped we are to interact effectively and compassionately. Well, that's quite a journey we've been on today, folks. I hope this video has helped to demystify the concept of psychopathy and maybe made it a little less intimidating. Do you suspect someone in your life has psychopathic personality traits? How are you handling that? Why don't you leave a comment below? I'm also interested in whether you have any questions about psychopathy that I could address in a future video. So please post those questions as well. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends who might find it fascinating too. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding psychology can make us a little more powerful. As always, I'm here making psychology and neuroscience a bit less scary and a bit more relatable. Subscribe for more engaging content, and until next time, stay curious. Bye.